All right, we're here with Braden Fiske, defensive lineman of Florida State by way of Western Michigan. And Braden, I'll start with this. We talked to your buddy Marshon Neely earlier today.
Yep.
You guys were teammates for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that defensive line not giving a bunch of people trouble. He came in from Minnesota. You obviously played at Florida State last year. How was it like playing with him and seeing his development? Because he's, much like you, a freakish athlete who continues to get better.
For sure. I mean, that's somebody I worked with. I mean, I had the opportunity to work with early on in my career. I mean, I was a sophomore when he came in as a freshman, so we got to spend a ton of time together. And I mean, I think, he was somebody early on I was able to take under my wing, and that was something I was preaching our defensive line, though, was, fly around, get to the ball, play with relentless effort. And, it's just something me and him both kind of, embodied and, embraced and took in. And I think it's a big asset to both of our games. And, it makes a difference on the field. Like, you can, that kind of stuff, stands out on film. And, for him to be able to do what he did last year and just all the whole career combined, I mean, it's been great. And, I'd love to get the opportunity to play with him again. I mean, it was fun. I mean, we had one more opportunity at the Senior Bowl last minute, so that was really cool, too.
And you guys both had great weeks that week.
Yeah, for sure.
Were you traded?
Yeah.
You were traded.
Yeah.
One of the first trades in Senior Bowl history.
Last minute, I'm sitting at breakfast, and I get the text, meet with Mr. Nagy, and sure enough, I'm on the other team an hour later. So, it was
Were
cool.
they able to get you another jersey?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I show up, and I have a new jersey stitched for me waiting in my locker, so I got to take two jerseys home.
There you go.
Week. So
that was a win for that.
Well,
cool.
the one thing is he had the advantage because he worked against all those offensive linemen the entire week,
yeah.
and then got an opportunity
a little snap
to play
count and all
against
that,
them.
right?
Down there at the Senior Bowl, again, there was no question you were one of the standouts there.
Yes, sir.
And when you watched your tape at Florida State, I mean, there was the athleticism, the energy, the effort you play with. But what guy do you think gave you the most fits down at the Senior Bowl that you're like, this is a real dude?
Yeah, no, definitely Christian Haynes from UConn.
Yep.
I thought he's an awesome player, man. And he plays with a little mean streak to him. And I think, for me, I like that on offensive lineman. A guy, he's not going to back down from you. I'm not a big fan of the Mr. Nice Guy offensive lineman, which, hey, to each their own. But I like the guy, he's not afraid. He's not going to back down. He's going to come after you. And, I mean, that was him all week. He got great hands. He plays a really good base, and he's going to fire off the ball. Like, in the run game, he was coming off, and, he was hitting guys, so it was awesome.
Were you at all shocked when the helmet incident took place that Christian was involved in that, or was that that's just football practice?
That's a football practice. I mean, I know it was kind of blown up to be, this big deal.
Rick didn't care either. I asked Rick about that. He goes, it doesn't matter.
Like, I get it. Like, do you want to stay away from that stuff? Sure, but I mean, it's man on man at that point. I mean, you're playing football. I mean, it's going to get intense, and sure, stay away from it. But
to your point, Christian didn't back down.
He's not backing down.
Right.
And, Justin Jefferson ain't backing down there. So I mean, it goes both ways. So,
right.
No, it's awesome.
What went into your decision to make the move to Florida State? Was it to improve your draft status, or? Because I know that had to be a hard decision, probably on how loyal of a person you are.
For sure.
But to make that move.
Right. Well, I mean, the original intention wasn't even to leave. I was going to either enter the draft or stay at Western Michigan for my final year, but ultimately I had to get a shoulder surgery, so that kind of ended up making the decision for me. But 3 days later, my head coach was fired. And so it was, when a head coach gets fired, I mean, it's a mad scramble. It's,
right, that's right.
Everyone for themselves at that point. And luckily I had enough conversations with the right people, and ultimately it came down to, maybe the portal's a good option, just to see what's out there. And I mean, I hadn't heard any good things about the portal at that point. I didn't really know a lot about the transfer portal. And, when it finally happened, I was like, oh, wow, my phone didn't start ringing for, 2.5 weeks. And I was
okay.
So this is what the transfer portal is,
Yeah.
And, Florida State comes along, and, Coach Norvell's sitting in my kitchen, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be the place for me.
I'm going to ask you, this is a hard question, and you can tell me that, hey, I'm not going to answer that question.
Yeah.
But going to Florida State, you guys had a phenomenal year.
Correct,
and all of a sudden, I know, when you lost your quarterback and got to the end, and then you guys go down and play against Georgia in a bowl game. Yet a lot of you guys elected not to play in that game. Was that tough because of the competitor that you and your
100%.
teammates are, or how do you handle something like that, or what goes in that thought process? I don't know if they've asked you that in meetings with teams.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's brought up, and I think it's a fair question because, I mean, however many guys opt out, I mean, there's going to be questions of, what's the decision going into that. But, I think for everyone it was a different, scenario, why they're sitting out, what was going to be the best situation for you. And, I mean, for me, I was battling an injury.
Right.
It came down to, is this going to be the right time frame to get healthy? Is it worth playing in this game with, considering everything else you have coming up at the end of the season with, Senior Bowl Combine? And, everyone's situation was different. I mean, I can only speak to mine, and, who am I to condemn anybody else for what they did? But Ultimately, I mean, it sucked though, because I mean, I'm staying on the sideline watching the game and watching my brother go out there and fight against a team that, I mean, we're getting whooped, and it was terrible. I mean, it's hard to watch that, but
yeah,
I mean, luckily I get to sit here in front of you guys, and I got the opportunity at hand, coming up. But yeah, that'll always kind of linger in the back of my mind of, wow, like I had to sit back and watch that. But
we work with some Florida State alums, and we've given them a hard time about it, but I think you have some perspective that's worth sharing. I'll say this: Rick and I do a podcast as well, and we talked a lot about you in the fall because, as Rick pointed out, coming from Western Michigan, not a lot of people knew who you were,
right.
And you popped immediately. I wonder, did you have any conversations with Jared first? You came from a bigger school in Western Michigan, but he transferred from Albany. Yeah. No one really knew who he was until he showed up 2 years ago, and then the transformation. It feels like you guys are walking similar paths. He plays a different position, but did you guys ever have any conversation about how big the jump was in terms of playing in front of fewer thousand people than 40, 50,000 people you saw every weekend?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not early on, but as like me and him got closer throughout the season, I mean, we're really similar people, just the way we go about our business, the way we work, and just how we attack the field. I mean, he became kind of like my main guy, competing with him, and we made each other so much better throughout the year. But yeah, we talked all the time. We're just like, man, can you believe like we get to do this? Like, because we both understood. I mean, we went from playing in front of, Jared maybe like 500 people, me like maybe like 5,000, and then going in front of 85,000. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was a true blessing because both of us were in very similar situations, and just be out there and just being able to take over games the way we were able to together, and it was awesome. I mean, we had a great experience.
You made a great decision is what I'm hearing.
100%. I say it all the time. It's the best decision I ever made. I mean,
I have one more question for you, and I know the passion you play with the game, and you get asked this in these interviews at night, and why do you love to play the game? And I love to play the game because of the compete. But is there something that personally drives you to be the type of player you are?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I guess like the style I play the game, and the relentless effort. Yeah, I mean, early on in my career, of even just in college football, I was told by my coach of, you're not going to be the most physically imposing guy. You're not going to be the 6'6" guy with 34, 35-inch arms. And I understood that. And he said, but you have to have an A-plus trait. And my A-plus trait was getting to the ball, being relentless, being the most physical guy in the field. And, that to me was something I had to build on. That had to be my A-plus trait going forward. And, that's what's been able to get me to this point of just, getting noticed on film. How am I going to get noticed? And for me, it was, if that ball's on the sideline, I'm going to get there. If it's on the opposite sideline, I got to get there. And, it's just something I've kind of, embodied and embraced my whole career, and, kind of turn it into my identity in a way.
Has teams been brought up in your meetings at night? Oh, listen, you only have short arms. So there's not a lot of short arm defensive linemen that make it in the NFL.
No, 100%.
How do you handle those type of questions?
Well, for one, somebody's got to be an outlier, but for me, it's something I'm constantly going to battle, and I hear it all the time, and I get it. Like, it maybe is a problem with some teams, but it hasn't been a problem up to this point.
Right.
They going into the Senior Bowl, say, oh, all these guys are going to have long arms. Well, all right, well, they didn't get off the ball on me, so at some point, sure, maybe it'll be an issue, but that's why I got to be the best technique guy. I have to beat you to your chest. In double teams, I'm going to beat you to the point of attack. That's just the way I have to play the game, and it's something that's got to be constantly worked on, right?
I always forget his name, Rick, the Pitt first-round pick last year.
Yeah, Kalijah Kancey. He's having a lot of success. And
it turns out he's a trailblazer, so you don't have to be the outlier.
The biggest mistake is don't forget what you see on tape.
Exactly, that's right.
Because that's where you end up.
And it's great because, a lot of, I hear from a lot of the scouting side of things, but when I talk to coaches, position coaches, they're like, man, we don't care. Like, you're a ball player.
Yeah.
You go out there, you play the ball the right way, like, you're going to have success. And that, that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me motivated because, I see the potential that I can, make an impact, and I just see how much more room my game has to grow, especially learning from guys at the top level and top coaches. And to me, it feels like the sky's the limit. I'm super excited to get at it.
And we had so much fun watching you and talking about you in the fall because it was a surprise. I would imagine you probably went up against some guys who didn't know who you were, and then by the middle of the second quarter, like, all right, we got to pay attention.
Great, I better go pack a lunch because this shit's going to get real here for the rest of the game.
Oh, we got Rick Curson. That's how excited he is by the way you're playing. Let me ask you a few questions to let you out of here. Who is your football GOAT?
Ooh, football GOAT. I grew up a big Colts fan growing up. I'm a big Dwight Freeney fan.
Okay.
That spin move was huge for me growing up. Do I have it in my game? No, but I'll let him.
Still love it.
I'll let him take care of that. Yeah. But yeah, just the way he played. I fell in love with those Colts defenses growing up with him and Robert Mathis playing across from each other, and like Bob Sanders in the back end. Like that was.
I think Marshon said. Did Marshon say Dwight as well? He said because he's an Indy guy.
Yeah.
He's an Indy guy. So that's two Dwight Freeneys. All right, let's see a couple more silly questions here.
Yeah.
What's the last show you binge watched?
Last show I binge watched. I did watch Ozark last.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like last fall. And it
Yeah.
was awesome. Yeah,
That's great.
First,
Do you watch that one?
No.
Okay. I like that one.
maybe MASH or something over there. I don't know.
He hit you with the mash, Rick. He hit you with the mash.
Was that like a compliment? I'm taking it.
That was fantastic. One of the quarterbacks you're most looking forward to sacking.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I played against Kenny Pickett one year. That was pretty cool. I guess go against him again. But I don't know, like something like Aaron Rodgers, that'd be pretty sweet.
That would be awesome.
That's just like one of those surreal moments. You watch.
Just don't hurt him.
Right. And watch somebody growing up. That'd be pretty special. But
all right, and the last thing here, weirdest thing about you that people may not know.
Weirdest thing about me. I don't know. I listen to a lot of like slower music, like even like a jazz or.
He's a music guy. Hit him with something.
Yeah.
I don't know, like alternative music and stuff. Hit him with something. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I listen to music when I'm not watching MASH, apparently.
All right, shots back.
No, I love it. Braden, I appreciate it. I spend a lot of time with Rick, and he gives me a hard time. So for someone to come on the set and give it back to him, that's not me. I appreciate it. Braden Fiske, Florida State, but headed to the NFL. Braden, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. This is awesome. Thank you, guys.